Hello and welcome to another episode of Madly Moved with Maddie. On this very special early morning episode, I have Rachel Sereni. Her username is Real Talk with Rachie. She is the co-host of Rock Bottom with Ryan, and she is just a badass, sober girl. And without further ado, here's her story.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and yes, I do co-host Rock Bottom with Ryan, but yes, I have my story prior. So I started off, I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts. I was born there. I have lots of my mom's side of the family there. Me and my sister were about 6 or 7 years old, I would say, when we came. I was 6 or 7 years old. She's 3 years younger when we came to Florida, where my grandparents are, and my dad got a job opportunity. So we moved here. I'm still here. And my mom came. They were married, and my mom was in active addiction. She was popping pills all the time. She was like nodding out all the time. From what I know, actually, she did use medication while pregnant with my sister and I. I came out blue and a month early, but I'm okay for the most part. For the most part, I'm okay now. My sister's fine too. She was okay too, thank God. My dad threatened her though and said if, either one of my kids come out shaking or having withdrawals, like I'm leaving. And, we didn't. Um, and fast forward, we come to Florida and the addiction just got worse and worse and worse. My dad was working two jobs. She wasn't working and he was coming home to the house like disgusting. Me and my sister very dirty and unkept. There was no food cooked for him. She was pawning everything and she would just be nodding off. And mind you, back then in the 90s, she was smoking her cigarettes in the house, just like chain smoking, like in the car with us too, with the windows up. The final straw though for my dad, I was about 6. We were in Florida, was my mom actually nodded off behind the wheel with my sister and I in the car, and she went flying, my mom and I and all of us, into a dumpster, and the car was kind of like, like that. And I remember actually very clearly me putting my arm out to grab the car seat because that also wasn't buckled in. But I grabbed the car seat for my sister and I held her with all my might. So Jennifer, my sister, never flew forward. I went up against the chair and neighbors, everybody came, helped us out. She didn't go to jail, but my dad arrived on the scene and grabbed us and everything like that. And that was the start of a divorce, a massive one. My dad got full custody after fighting hard. My mom kidnapped us from school while my dad had that order going. Working on getting custody in the 90s of, two little girls, which was very, very, very difficult in the state of
Yeah.
Florida, even though she was an addict. And she kidnapped us. I remember getting picked up on Thanksgiving a few years ago. Not a few years ago. Shit. Like in my 30s. I was about like 7. But yeah, I get kidnapped by my own mother from school.
So
And also back then it
I
was
just had
easier.
one question. I want to
Mm-hmm.
back up because when you were in the car and
Mm-hmm.
you held your arm out for your little sister, oh my God, I like it's so much in like the last like 1 minute that you said, and I just wanted to ask, how old were you when you had to do
I was
that?
about 6 or 7. I don't think I was even 7. I don't think
So
I was
were you
even
in
7.
Boston or were you in Florida?
I was in Florida.
You were in Florida at that point. Okay. All right.
We had
Go
moved
ahead. I just
already. No, it's okay. You can
wow.
ask me anything. Yeah,
6 years
it
old.
happened. Yep, 6 years old. And I've always been very upset, I guess you could say, around clutter. And it definitely stems back to that. My house was just very cluttered, full of cigarettes, and my sister would have like, snot caked on her face, peanut butter or strawberries in her hair. I remember all of this very clearly. I do go to therapy, by the way. But very dirty. Her diapers would be full. I would always, I didn't know how to change a diaper, but I knew it was full. So I would take it off of her and put a new one on. I didn't know how to wipe or anything like that. Nobody taught me how to do that. I was a kid. And I would do what I could. And I would just take care of my sister. Mind you, my dad is working all of the time. Like, he's working all the time and coming home exhausted. It was the only way we would have a home. Um, and I would wander out of the house to go to like the clubhouse, because we lived in a nice community that had a clubhouse. And I would go there because they had cookies. And I would go, my mom was knocked out. I would leave the house, go to the clubhouse, get cookies, and I would come home. And obviously, like, the people who worked up front at the clubhouse eventually noticed, like, where's the mother of this little girl? And they would come to the house, and my dad would find out, and they would get in a huge fight. So I would stop going to get cookies, or I would just wander out of the house to go to hang out with friends at that age. But finally, that car accident happens, and my dad was like, enough, and he took us away. He got a different place, but was in the midst of finding a lawyer. And while he was doing that, she was able to steal us both from our schools. So I think she was trying to take us away from my dad before he had full legal custody. I think that was her like outlook. So she took us, and I don't know exactly where we went, but we went to a train station after she released us from school. Mind you, this was in the 90s, and they didn't, that's our mom, so they just released us. They didn't look at a emergency contact list like they do now, and released us to our mom. I don't know where we went. I know we stayed in Florida, but we went pretty far. And we were in halfway homes, shelters for women. I think it was a good 2 weeks, and my dad was trying to find my sister and I, and finally my aunt helped him. And we got back to my dad. I remember running into his arms in a courtroom with my little sister. And from that point on, my dad got legal custody of my sister and I. We remained in Florida. My mom went back to Boston. She's one of 8 brothers and sisters, and all of them ended up shunning her because of her addiction. She wouldn't stop using. She didn't get the help. She never really tried to. So I lived a very lonely life with just my dad working all the time and then having a little sister and just being home. It was full of it wasn't intentional neglect from my dad, but a lot of neglect. And I sought love from the wrong places by the time I turned, a very early teen. And I was just starting to hang out with the wrong crowd. Then my mom decides to come back to Florida. Not clean. She came around 12 years old. She came back. And now I'm a teenager, and I said, I could curse, right? I said, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You're not gonna tell me what to do just because you're my mom. Like, I was very rebellious, and I was nasty. I was very mean to her. And this is where then, okay. Sorry, I haven't told my story in a while.
No, you're good. You're good. Do you want to take a break and I can ask you some questions?
We could do that because, yeah, we're about to go into darkness.
Okay. So, shake it back up. Not that one. So, okay, so this is a light one. How do you stay grateful?
Oh, for sure, meditation. I love meditating. And then while I'm meditating, and I like to go out for walks just in nature, not to burn calories, just walking. And then you just start thinking of and reflecting. At least my mind does. I just start reflecting and walking around and thinking about how awesome things have been for me and what are things, coming my way. And I'm a very, very humble person.
Yeah.
hmm That's how
Being
I stay
humble.
grateful.
Yeah. Okay.
Humble.
So how do you deal with setbacks?
I go into tunnel vision now. In active addiction, it was completely different, but now I'm full of tunnel vision. Like, I use setbacks as a motivation.
Okay.
I kind of laugh at setbacks, for sure.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
like that perspective. Oh, you're
Yeah.
trying to mess me up? Get out of my
Oh, yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah. Like, you think you could fuck with me? All right. Well, I'm in charge now. Yeah.
Right.
I handle
That's
everything pretty well.
with people like us who destructed, took a hand in destructing our own lives. We can't let anyone else mess up our lives
Yeah,
now. You know? No
exactly.
way.
That's exactly my
Or,
mentality on it. I fucked my own life up and I was so bad to myself for so long. It's my turn to be amazing to myself.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love that. If you wanna get back into it, you could go ahead, or I
Yes.
can ask you another question if you want.
Well, this plays a big part of it, so I got to get through this part to get to where I am today, right?
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so Violet, I was very nasty to her. And I got teary eyed before because it's guilt, deep down guilt. But I know it's not my fault. None of this is my fault. But then it turned into her not being allowed at my dad's house when he wasn't home because she would go through the medicine cabinet. And he was like any of his medication. So he was like, she can't be here when I'm not here. And I broke that rule quite often because I want to see my mom. And one evening in June, it was actually June 5th, because she passed away June 6th. Yes. Okay, so June 5th, I had her at the house and she was so strung out, I was like, you gotta go. Like, you gotta go because dad's gonna be back in a couple hours. I'm gonna get in trouble. And she wouldn't leave, she wouldn't leave, she would not leave. Like, she was becoming, kind of physical. So I pushed her out of the house physically, like literally out of the apartment, slammed the door on her. And for about 2, 3 hours, she stood outside the apartment banging and slamming to come in, okay? And I had to ignore her. That was the last time I physically saw my mother. Then a few hours later, I spoke to her on the phone. I told her, I don't want to have anything to do with you until you get clean. And she told me that she would live until she was like 94. She threw out a really random number. She was in denial. And we hung up the phone. That was the last time I spoke to my mom. And then the next day, June 6th of 2008, I planned to have this party. I got a bottle. I don't know how I got the bottle. Honestly, probably my dad. But I got a bottle and I'm planning to have this party, clean the whole house. My boyfriend, which is my dad's father. Oh no. My dad's father? Is that what I just said? My son's father? Holy
Okay.
shit.
You're okay.
Yeah, Carlos, my son's father, was at my house and helped me clean. And we had this whole setup going. We were going to have this really lit party. I'm 16 years old. And they're really late, a few of my friends, super fucking late. Like it's 10 something at night. This thing was supposed to start at 8. And it's really, really late. Whatever. All of a sudden, I hear my mom's ringtone. Never called me from the halfway house at that time ever. And I went running and I pick it up and it's the owner of the halfway home saying, I need to go to Florida Medical Center, which was the closest hospital to her at that time, right now. And I was like, well, first off, I don't drive. I have to call my dad. What's going on? And he would not tell me what was going on. He just said it was a severe emergency. He wouldn't tell me. So I said, okay. But at this point, I've gotten several calls like to go to the hospital and stuff throughout my teenage years while she was here and my dad, that we were just like, it was almost like a cry wolf situation. But
Right.
this time I knew it wasn't. Something in my body and soul was like, holy shit, I need to call my dad. He was at his girlfriend's. So I called. I was begging, pleading. He kept saying, Rachel, we're not going. Like, we're not going this time. Like, come on. Like, whatever. I was screaming, and I never did this. And I was like, we have to go. We have to go. We have to go. The whole time, again, this feeling gets stronger and stronger the closer we get to the hospital. And like every red light, I'm like screaming to get through it. It was crazy. I'm 16 years old, mind you. We have Carlos in the back seat. I'm only 4 months dating this guy. And he's
Wow.
16 too. We finally get there, and a nurse takes us to a back room, and she didn't make it. She died of an overdose. They worked on her, and she died. So they asked me, do you want to see your mom one last time? Do you want to say bye? And I was so torn. I was like, if you don't, you're going to regret it. And if you do, you're going to see a dead body of your mother. So I went. I shouldn't have, because I do have PTSD now. I see her quite often, but I just was on top of her and I was screaming. And I remember touching her face. It was rubber. Her hair was yarn. It didn't feel like human hair. And they took me, she had dirt on her face from the struggle. They should have cleaned her up, but they didn't. She had a tube down her throat. It was just really vivid and fucked. And from that point on, I got very, very close to Carlos. He was my security blanket.
Of
Then
course.
the alcohol and the more bad decisions started to flow because of the crowd that I was with. And I didn't know how to drink properly. I was just taking shot after shot on an empty stomach and blacking out all the time, throwing up, things like that. But that was like a social thing. That was just like me doing that on weekends. But I didn't do it like in a good way. I was always like causing mayhem or throwing up or drinking way too much. And I was always smoking bud, but that's a whole other thing. I don't really look at it like that. But that was young. But the alcohol was a problem, and then Xanax came into my life, and I was doing Xanax every single day, like Xanax bars every single day up until like 19, 20 years old, more than one sometimes, on top of blacking the fuck out. I got kicked out of my stepdad's house, of my stepmom's and dad's house by the age of 19. Yep. So I go to live with Carlos and his sister, and I'm a raging alcoholic. I don't have a full-time job. I'm about 19, 20 years old at this time. And then, surprise, I'm pregnant. Yeah. So then I go through my pregnancy sober, and I have Gabriel, my son, in 2013 with Carlos. And I went right back to drinking while he was in the NICU after my C-section. Wasn't even fully healed. He was born on the 9th. By Valentine's Day, the 14th, I was playing beer pong. Like, and I was getting assisted by people to get out of the chair to
I
do
did the
my
same
turn.
thing.
Yeah.
I my daughter was in the NICU for a month, and I'm pretty sure, a couple days after she got in there, I was wasted, wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wasn't doing it like to numb at that time. I wasn't like, oh man, my kid's in the NICU, I need to drink. I was doing it because like, oh hey, I'm not pregnant anymore. Like I could go to a party.
Right.
Free fucking babysitter at the hospital. That was my mentality at that time.
Yeah. No, I
Isn't
get
that
it. I get
horrible?
it. No, mine
Yeah, like
mine
I
was
actually got
too.
in a
And
call. Ugh. But that was the beginning of absolute just a whole decade of me drinking almost daily all the time. It wasn't like partying anymore. It was like I couldn't hold a job. I was drinking all the time. I was leaving work to go drink, driving drunk. By the time my son is 2.5, almost 2.5, I get a DUI. And my son was he was at his grandma's. I was supposed to pick him up after my shift that I didn't finish working. I chose to go out and drink instead, and I did not pick up my son. And he was at his grandma's. He was safe. But I had to call Carlos, who was already fed up. We're together now, 7.5 years. Most of it I was in active addiction of, alcohol and benzos. So, and I had a Molly phase, but that was like in 2010.
Didn't we all?
I would definitely say, yeah, I would definitely say though, because like we sold it. So I had the powder with me. Yeah, like all the time. I was just making capsules. I'm not joking. I probably took about 10 Mollies a day back then. I skipped through that, by the way. Yeah,
You were really
I don't know
sweating.
how I'm okay. Yeah, people told me I smelled like I go like now that I'm sober and I hear all these stories, I'm like that's disgusting. First off, I smelled. That makes sense though because I was up for days on end. So I don't think I was probably showering, like a normal person or changing my clothes. Who knows? It was just a repeated cycle. But honestly, I had to stop Molly's because our shipment stopped. I had no access to Molly anymore. That was like a year of not even a full year of my life that I was just like on a Molly rave phase. I don't know what the fuck that was. I wasn't even really drinking either. It was just like Molly, Molly, Molly with my baby daddy. This was before I got kicked out though. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, I should have gotten the help that I needed, but was I ready? I don't think so. Not at the age of 19, 20, because that's when everything started. But, Gabriel, I'm out, Gabriel's in the NICU because he swallowed fluid during the C-section. It wasn't anything serious. He was a really big baby, actually. And I'm grateful that he was born healthy. He was born healthy and huge as hell, so I had to have a C-section. And, by Valentine's Day, though, I'm playing beer pong, and then I take a benzo again because I had postpartum. I actually genuinely felt like I needed something for anxiety. And then I felt that calmness again. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to take this every day because I need it. And then every day turned into multiple times a day with the drinking again after the DUI. And Carlos had left me. So he left me. Rightfully so. Not the way he did. I don't think it was proper, but rightfully so. He couldn't handle it. But he left me with an apartment, a lease, and a child, and dipped. He's still present. He's a present father. He's a good father. But, with a lease, when I don't work full time, with his name on it, and a child, while in active addiction, that made my addiction worse. I was drinking about 3 to 4 huge wine bottles a day to the head. And then I just was coping with drinking all of the time. And the friends I had at the time, they were doing it with me. So it was just all of the time. And Carlos is gone, so I felt so lost. But then I had to have my dad move in with me. He went through a divorce, so that helped me out financially, and it helped me keep my apartment. And then from there, my dad moves in, and I'm single for a little bit, right? And I don't like being single because I have abandonment issues. So I was dating very abusive men after Carlos. Like, I ended up getting hit. I ended up being in very bad situations. I was verbally abused horrifically. things that he would threaten to beat the shit out of me just because I was like laughing. Like if I was having a good time, he'd be like, "I swear to God, if you don't shut up, I'm going to beat the shit out of you." And he was serious, and he put the fear of God in me, and like I was like, okay, so I like would shut down. But that's not me. If anybody knows me, I don't take shit from anybody, even back then. So, and I knew that. So I looked in the mirror even while drunk, and I was like, "You're not gonna let nobody talk to you like that, right? Like, right?" So I ended up breaking up with him. I got out of that. So I remained, and then I said, "You're gonna be a single girly, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna heal while drinking." And I was single for maybe 2 months, while heavily drinking and partying, and then I met my fiance, and he came into my life. We were dating. We were going back and forth on Instagram. I knew him from back in the day because he lived closer to me back then. He was living in Sebring, Florida, which is about 3 hours away from me now. So we were doing a long distance thing for a couple of months, and he decided to move down, and he moved in with me very fast. It was a very toxic relationship in the beginning because I was drinking and so was he. He didn't realize I was a full blown alcoholic. So we were getting into massive fights, and I was nasty as fuck to him. But then he's a great stepdad too. He's huge with my son. But then the last 2, 3 years of my addiction, hold on, got to the point that I wasn't able to hold a job. I was getting fired. I was leaving early to drink again, but this time I wasn't 19, 20 years old now. I have a full grown child, and my dad had moved out. So me and John have the apartment now. And I have a whole car payment, everything. Like I'm a adult, and I'm not able to hold a job. I can't bring any money. I'm 221 pounds. I'm not healthy. I'm having gastro issues. Not a present mom at all. The list goes on. I was on the verge of getting another DUI because I was driving around drunk all the time. Like I would have like a big gulp cup full of my Pinot Grigio, and I'd be just driving around doing Instacart. Um, and then I decided to go to one of my doctor's appointments 45 minutes away, hammered, blackout. I don't even remember. And the medical assistant, this is a few days prior to me quitting, by the way. Um, wait, April 1st. My sobriety date is April 11th, 2024. So April 1st was our 7 years, me and John. I was going to Instacart all day, sleep off my drinking, which I thought I did. No, I would wake up still drunk. And then I was going to cook him dinner for our anniversary. And that didn't happen. I woke up still blackout. Actually, I didn't really wake up. He came home from work, and I was blackout, still sleeping. I woke up, don't remember doing this, and then I like verbally attacked John, my fiance. Like I called him a piece of shit. I called him all these names, like to the point that he left on our anniversary. And then the next day he threatened to leave me if I don't change, but I could tell he already had lost feelings. He didn't want to talk to me. I was always living in guilt and shame and fear, like of, is he mad at me? What did I do the night before? And then I go to this doctor's appointment a few days later, and I get hammered again. And the medical assistant has to call somebody to pick me up because she was not going to let me drive, and they weren't going to do the appointment. They call my dad. I'm in my 30s. They call my dad, and my dad refused to pick me up because he was fed up with my shit too. And he's my best friend. So I speak to him the next day, and he said he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. So I'm already about to lose John, and this is about April 6th or 7th, 8th. And my dad now is mad at me. My sister, who was pregnant at the time, we never really had a very close relationship, me and my sister. She lived in a different, she had moved to a different state while pregnant with my niece. And my sister didn't want to talk to me anymore. cousin who's like my sister didn't want to talk to me anymore because I spilled the beans about something serious a few months prior while I was drunk to the whole family. So like now my world is crumbling. I have no money. I have no place else to go. I'm relying on John financially, but John is that's the love of my life. He wants to leave. And my son has seen me drunk and hammered so much that I felt like a piece of shit. So I decided on April 10th of 2024 to have my last like hoorah. So I had no money. So I went and I like got all the coins I could around the house, and I was able to get myself a big ass thing of Pinot Grigio and a few shots of those 99 banana like those 99-cent ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like and I went to town on the shots. I took those real quick, but I did it all out of anger. I wasn't like excited. I was like, I'm doing this because it's my last time. I got to. And now I'm parked up in a Taco Bell parking lot that happens to have like this huge field in front of it. And it's like super dramatic, like even visually how I see this, but this is how my last time drinking. I'm mad. I had already taken 3 shots, and now I got the fucking bottle of Pinot Grigio that I'm swigging out of in the front seat of my car. And I'm parked up at this parking lot, and I'm now crying. I'm having a fit. Like, I put the bottle down. I'm kicking, screaming, like punching my fucking steering wheel, almost kicked in my windshield. I had a whole tantrum. And because I knew it was over. It's done. Like, you are fucking done. So I took the Pinot Grigio bottle and I didn't save the rest. And I chucked it into the field, like with all of my might. And I just collapsed and I broke down hysterical, like hysterical. And I remember just being so scared. And I had a plan. I had an old AA chip from when I went to AA, when I got the DUI. So I was telling everybody while I was drinking, by the way, my last hoorah, I was at an AA meeting. So I was going to come home with a chip that they didn't know I had that. So I went, right?
I love it. The rationalization of our brains is just amazing.
It's crazy. And I brought toothpaste so I could like brush my teeth and stuff like that prior to getting home. And I dropped some on my shirt. John noticed it and told me in early sobriety he knew. And he came home. I went to bed. And I remember saying to myself, tomorrow you're going to wake up and it's going to be day 1. And you're going to fucking do it. And I woke up with the taste of alcohol on my breath. And I started a new job that day. And I did it. And I went to a meeting. I was hysterical. I really did get another chip. And then I was 221 pounds. I got on the scale also on day 1 of sobriety. So now I'm taking on sobriety, working full time, 40 hours that I had to commit to because John was already at his wit's end and I need to get back on my feet. And I'm 221 pounds and I'm unhealthy and I have gastro issues. I took on fixing all of that day 1 and I stuck to it though. I did go to AA for the first 4 months and I started my weight loss journey by the typical, dieting. I did. I cut out all the BS and I ate healthy. Also, while going to AA, drinking a lot of water, and I started off with just going for 20, 30-minute walks. Then I had a bad experience in AA. And I ended up having a hiccup. I relapsed 4 months in. A really bad relapse. The girl from AA invited me over to her house and then she showed me around and then we get to the kitchen and then she opens a cabinet and there was a huge bottle of vodka and she looks me in the eye and that look. We both just like gave each other that look like, you down? I won't tell anybody if you don't tell anybody. And we started just taking shots. We were smoking cigarettes in the back. Like at first it was like we were doing, I was fucked up. Then I got so fucked up and she started playing like she was sober, and she called all the old timers over from AA to her house. And there was like a whole, like, I don't even remember it much, but they were, I guess, trying to help me. Then she drives my
That's
fucking car home with
crazy.
me in it.
I can't believe
Yeah.
that's insane.
My
She that
fiance
was,
cannot find me.
she like plotted on you. She plotted
Yeah.
on you. That's
Oh yeah.
crazy.
And if she
That's
really knew who I was, yeah, she did plot on me. But um that happened, and my best friend who had my son, she kept him for the night and everything was okay with my son. And my fiance couldn't find me. She brought me home very late with my car, and one of the old timers followed her and I guess took her home. That was really weird. And then John had to resuscitate me. Yeah. And he did, because I'm here.
yeah.
And it was traumatic. And the next day I went to work because back on the bandwagon. Like not bandwagon, back on a high horse, whatever the fuck. But yeah, I went right back into it right after that hiccup. I said, nope, like no. Like you did that and you're done. So then I go to work the next day and I obviously feel like complete fucking, like I felt like a fucking piece of shit and failure. And then I found a sobriety group, a sobriety coach that I'm not going to say the name of. I was part of that for not even a full year. It turned into be something completely different. It was good. It was helpful in the beginning of sobriety, and then it just wasn't anymore. Uh,
Okay.
she made me something called a leader, and because I had more sobriety and more, like, I worked out and things like that, so I was like helping with the business with no, it was very weird. And I don't think people should have to pay to have help with their sobriety unless it's like obviously a detox center or a professional. But um it's just all of my content on my Facebook was being, not Facebook, Instagram, my sobriety page was being managed. And it was becoming really weird. Like I couldn't post certain things, or they wanted me to make special content to promote. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm a very authentic, genuine person. And she started to lose her authenticity to me. She also was one of my friends, I thought. She lives in Miami. So I would go to see her, and the whole time she was always doing content, and it wasn't a real friendship. It was almost like using me for
Okay.
content. It was really fucking weird. Like if you scroll really far onto my page, like you'll see what I'm talking about.
So
But
I just wanted to get one thing. So if
mhm.
anyone's listening or watching that does do recovery groups online and has people pay, I kind of do agree with Rachel. I'm sorry, but I do, and I know that it's a huge thing that people do nowadays. And I'm not hating on nobody that does it. I know that there was some
Mhm.
people on my podcast that do that, and I like what you guys do.
Oh
But
hell yeah, no, yeah. If it
I,
works for
yeah,
you, that's fine.
yeah, but I'm letting you know that's something that I don't want to ever be part of.
Yeah,
Just saying.
it will,
Yeah.
because it was prying on the weak. But to me, that's okay. If you really are a coach and you're helping people and it's coming from your heart, you're not managing their social media to promote yourself, like things like that. Yeah, go for it. If it works for you, yeah. I think there's other ways to help you with sobriety, but that's my opinion, right? Um,
Yeah.
but by May of 2025, um, so I'm part of this group, right? And I go to this retreat, which turned out really bad. Like people ended up relapsing from it and stuff. But I remained sober. And I mind you, the day before was Mother's Day. And John, after a year of sobriety, I hit a year of sobriety in April. Okay. And I lost so much weight. I got very heavily into the gym, all while that being part of that group. now I've lost about 80 pounds, but around that time I still lost a lot of weight. I was very heavy. I am very heavily into lifting and going to the gym about 4 times a week, maybe
Hell yeah.
5. Um, and I lift. I don't just do cardio. I love lifting. It helps me with my anger. I meditate and all of that. But by the time I hit my year, John had been planning to propose to me. And throughout all that time, I also got a new car. Like I got a new car. I kept the job that I was at. I'd never called out. I was reliable. And May 11th comes around and John proposed to me on Mother's Day in front of a whole restaurant. And I'm with my dad there and my son there and his mom on FaceTime. And he stuck
Congratulations.
by me through addiction. Yeah. Yeah. And then the next day I go to this retreat, the very next day, and with my ring all excited and stuff. And I didn't get a chance to really take in that I was just proposed to. Of course I said yes. And then I'm part of this whole thing, and just things are just not okay there. I mean, we were all safe, but there were girls not mentally okay. And then it was a 3-day thing. It was not far from my house. It was in Florida. So I come back and I noticed that I can't do this anymore. I can't be a part of this anymore, but I didn't know how to get out. I didn't know how to get out. I was afraid. And then I just did it. Me and this other girl, who was also a leader, we were just like, we have to put our foot down and at least speak on how we feel. We have to be authentic and be real. And we have to tell this person who was once our friend, who is changing before our eyes, like, yo, hey, like, where'd you go? Like, I don't want to be a part of this no more. And it turned actually really bad. But we got out. So I like to say that I have been raw dogging sobriety since May. No coach, no AA. I do want a sense of community outside of just I love my Instagram family very, very much. It's a big community, right? And it's you could reach out to so many people and you make so many friends through it. But I am craving connection in person, so I'm not opposed to possibly going back to AA permanently. I've gone back since May a few times. I just haven't felt like any of the ones I've gone to is the home group yet. So I'm thinking of doing that, but throughout my sobriety, I continued to lift and go to the gym, and I left that group. And then in August, I see an ad to be on a podcast, and it was Ryan. And I wrote to him, and I was like, I want a podcast because, mind you, I also always wanted to do a podcast, and I brought it up to the person that I was, a coach with, and she was always for it. And she would, tell me what I need to get, but she wouldn't fully help me. And I was just like, you know what? I got discouraged by another podcaster. She was like, well, if you want to do a podcast, it's really expensive and you need this, and that. And it really discouraged me. So I was like, okay, fuck this, whatever. If I'm meant to help people, I'm meant to help people. I mean, I did go to school and get my counseling degree for
Awesome.
addiction counseling. So I do want to help people. But I see this ad in August and I applied to the ad, which was Ryan. And Ryan interviews me, and it's season 1, episode 12, I believe, on his Spotify and YouTube, but it's not a whole video. It's just before it was the beginning of his podcast. And he interviews me and we hit it off. And then after the interview, I was like, hey, if you ever need any form of help with your podcast, I have marketing background and I love talking about recovery, just let me know. And he gets back to me and he's like, I'd love for you to co-host. And there's that. And now I'm a co-host to Rock Bottom with Ryan. And I also have my own segment to it. And that's fresh. That's pretty new. The Recovery Room with Rachel. and I already did one interview. I'll be doing my second one this week. My son is my world. He knows I'm sober. He's going to be 13 in February, and he is just one of the best kids I've ever met, really. He's doing great in school. He really is my backbone as well. And John has stuck by my side. We're getting married on my 2-year anniversary. So April 11th, 2026. So
That's
yeah.
so special. Thank you so much for telling your story. It was, oh my gosh. I think that out of like everyone that I had tell the story, I was like, I couldn't like look away with yours, because it reminded me so much of what could happen with my children if I go back into drinking and using drugs. Like,
Yes.
every time you were like saying something about what happened with your mother, I was like, that could be me, that could be my daughter. And just thank you so much for telling your story, because every time I hear something that can relate to my children's upbringing, it helps me so much. So you just helped me as a mother. You helped my children have a mother, so
Well, you're doing
thank you so much. Yeah,
You're doing it.
but thank you.
Of course. And I mean, yes, I share the story of because it's my story, but also it helps me because I don't want, I was driving around with my son in the car, like, yo, that's another thing. Like, it's beyond a DUI. It's beyond hurting myself, and not only could I have hurt another person on the road a second time because I'm driving around again, but my kid in the car, like, come on. And then that could repeat something I went through as a kid too. I could fly into a freaking dumpster with my kid. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't, as a mom and as a person, and then now I'm just like a completely different person. I was just a very angry, dangerous drunk. Like, I wasn't fun to be around. I lost all of my friends. I've had to rebuild my whole entire life from the ground up. And it's a way more beautiful life now. But yeah, it was just like, you're done, bitch. Like, stop. Just stop. Like, that's literally, it came to a point I was like, you need to fucking stop. Like,
Yeah.
So I always say, like, you really do not get sober until you personally are tired of your own shit. Like, you have to be tired of your own shit.
I feel that. I feel that completely. It took me so long to realize that for my drugs of choice, which are heroin and crack. I've been sober for almost 5 years from those, and then I switched to drinking. But you'll hear more about my story when I share it on your podcast. So yeah. Oh my God. I just want to say thank you.